right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This is my podcast section, starring me with me, asking the real questions of me. No, guys. This is our book review. This is chapter 2 of one of the biggest books in the world, in the history of the world. Okay, it's called Reality Transurfing by Zadam Zeland. It's this book right here. All right. Now, I have not finished this book. I have not finished it. My little bookmark is right there. This is the beginning. This is the end. Okay, the alpha and the omega. It's all the things in between. I'm in it. Right. And if ever you've read some books to try to have a better understanding of what's going on with your life, this was this book to me. If you go look at the first video, you'll see why I chose it and what exactly I'm trying to give for you. Now, this will never replace reading the book, but this conversation that I'm about to have with you, with me, right? This conversation is my share as in my understanding of what I'm reading now. It's going to help me be a better service person, a better provider for my population, I do believe. Because my mentor told me a long time ago, he said, Dr. Butts, you're going to hear some things in this world while you're working that if you told somebody the story, people would say, you're lying. And I said, really, Doc? Really? He said, yes. And he was right. I have heard the darndest things. Absolutely. And the darndest things are, I guess, given to me because of the position that I'm in as in I'm serving the public, and the public comes in with all types of things, the way that the world works and swings, and the way that it takes people on a journey that they may not necessarily want to go on. People die, people get sick, there's accidents, there's fires, there's all types of things that people have to deal with. And I also am someone who has to deal with things. And I want to make sure that my reaction to the things that I'm dealing with is something that will get me out of the situation, not keep me in the situation, right? So this particular chapter in Reality Transurfing is called Pendulums, right? And a pendulum in this particular notion in the book is basically an energy sucker, like a pendulum on a clock. A little swing goes left and right, right? So this pendulum is made up of people's energy that are given to the pendulum for various reasons. So if you think of a football game, one side you got the Chiefs, right? Kansas City, and on the other side you got New York, right? You got the Jets, right? So some kind of playoff game. Now, everyone that's for the Chiefs is for the Chiefs. Everyone that's for the Jets is for the Jets, right? And plays that happen and moves that happen, all those things, is going to move the pendulum in different ways. There's going to be cheering for the Chiefs. There's going to be cheering. And while there's cheering for the Jets, there's going to be booing for the Jets. Anyway, this is just an easy example of a pendulum swinging during a football game, right? There you go. That's a pendulum. Now, what does the pendulum want from you? It wants everything. It wants all that you got. It wants your attention. This attention grab that it gets from you is now going to take you off course, off trail from where you are supposed to be going. Now, you are the one that determines where you're going to go. You're the one that makes that choice. But have you ever noticed that the more you say you don't want something, like I don't want somebody like this and I don't want somebody like that, the more you say that, have you noticed that shows up in your life more? Have you noticed? And it does that because we have gotten on a pendulum. And that pendulum has swung us in a way, taking our energy, taking our eye off of the prize of what we do want, if we even know what we do want. And it then shows you something that you don't want, something that you said that you don't want. Why am I getting this? And the more you ask and the more you get more angry about it, the harder and the wider the pendulum swings with you on it, whether you want to or not. Now, for my single ladies in the house, I've noticed some things. I've noticed how between masculine and feminine energy, that because you're single, there's things that you've had to do in your life that are more of the masculine nature, things that you probably don't want to do, like taking out your garbage, recycling, changing a tire. For some people, it's putting gas in the gas tank. Women, single women, may not necessarily want to do this. You know, there may be even a notion of like, well, I can do anything that a man does. All right, that's good. If you are a single heterosexual woman and you have manly tendencies, a man is not necessarily going to be attracted to that. Not necessarily. Not a real man. Real men love curves. We like the differences between a hard man and a soft woman. A heterosexual man does. That's the only perspective that I know of. And I feel like I've seen some things with my female friends that they just get caught up in a notion of something that they've seen, something that they've experienced, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. Well, they don't really have any answers for what that is, why they're acting the way that they are acting, what is wrong. All they know is that they have to do it. I've got kids, I've got to go to work, I've got to do these things. They have to do these things. And in feeling like you have to do these things, these more, in America, more societal man things, taking out the garbage, changing the gas, changing a tire, their energy shifts, and that energy shift makes them a little bit more bitter, a little bit less soft, more rigid. And this notion is actually a pendulum that they have joined because of the way that things are going in their lives. They join on. They're able to complain about it. Those complaints give that pendulum energy, and it takes them off of their path of what they may really want. They may say too many times what they don't want. I know I'm absolutely a person that has done that. I have said what I don't want and gotten exactly what I don't want. But this book is trying to release my mind to the notions of you can get what you want, but you have to do it in a certain way, in a certain style. So let's talk about pendulums. Now, chapter 2 of this pendulums, right? So basically, a pendulum is created by the energy of a group of people thinking in the same way. Easy enough. A pendulum is an energy-based information structure. So all the guys and girls that watch the show Insecure, and if you've watched the show Insecure lately, as you've matured more, you may look at what you already saw before. You may look at it differently now. You may notice that it was taking you on a journey that you may not have wanted to go to, and this is just Insecure, that now that you have some more information, now that you're seeing some things differently, you see it now, okay? But you were in that pendulum, that energy-based information structure at a certain frequency, and that frequency carried you. I mean, I watched all of I watched all of Insecure. It just doesn't look the same to me now with my different frequency, right? So A pendulum maintains the thought energy of its people at its own vibrational frequency. So, as you are giving your energy to the show Insecure, the pendulum that is the show Insecure takes your energy and challenges you to follow it, to swing with it. Let's go with this. All right. All right. So they, in the book, they call people adherents. Adherents. Right. So when I say the word adherents, that is people. And that's people stuck onto the energy of this pendulum. Right. So there are multiple pendulums. So the show Insecure might come on right at the same time that the Tonight Show comes on. Those are two different kinds of pendulums also, if you're already in that big frame of you watch television. What is the Tonight Show going to do for you or to you in order to get its attention, to get you to stay tuned, to tune in? What is it going to do, right? So there can be a battle between the pendulums in and of themselves. And their battle is only for your attention, right? All right. There are also things that are called destructive pendulums, right? And a destructive pendulum forces goals onto its adherents that are not of their own making. All right. So I want to be a biochemical engineer, right? But I have a gambling problem. I want to be a space rocket engineer, but I can't seem to stop smoking weed, right? These are examples of they're going to stop that progress, right? Because you've joined a destructive pendulum, whether you knew it or not, whether you wanted to or not. So the way that the pendulums work is that they play on human emotion, thereby catching the individual in their web. So the things that you're most concerned about, that you give all your energy to, that you have the most angst about, is where the pendulum is looking, because that's where your energy is, and it's looking to sweep it up, scoop it up, and take you for a ride away from what you're doing. But you have allowed it unknowingly because you've given it your energy, right? All right. And again, if there's something that you really, really don't want, it absolutely will appear in your life. So we have to be mindful of our thoughts, and we have to be forgiving of the things that pop into our heads and realize that they are not what we are. They're only thoughts. And we have the ability, we actually have the responsibility to choose them correctly, wisely, right? So to set yourself free from a pendulum, it means you have to give it no place in your life, which we'll talk about how to do that, all right? And to give something no place in your life doesn't mean that you try to avoid it, because these things are unavoidable. It just means you have to ignore it, and we'll talk about that. To bring a pendulum to rest, you have to change the established game script. So, between the football game between the Chiefs and the Jets, you're going to have to change the channel. You're going to have to turn off the television, right? You know that the game's on. You want to know who won. You want to know what happened. You can find out after the game. They're going to give you that information, right? So, a way to do this also is to have, and this seems so common if you've ever been in the self-help space, but it's basically positive visualization, and that can gently bring the swing of a human pendulum to rest, right? So you just want to visualize the other way than the way that you're going, right? And now we remember that a pendulum is an energy field that gyrates, swings from left to right, and is taking stuff with it, right? So When you do your job and you stop the swinging on you, then the energy of this now stilled pendulum becomes available to you to use. It's called free energy, and you can use this energy, right? Problems are solved by defeating or stopping the pendulum that created them. So there you go. Ladies, you have to sometimes figure out from where the problem has begun with you. What is actually going on? Because sometimes what it looks like right in front of you isn't necessarily the problem. It's something further back. It's something more anchored deeper in the distance of the past or deeper just in you. And we try to keep these things in mind. The past is gone. It's already done what it was going to do. It was a real moment. The present is the only thing that is real. The future has not been created yet. Yet we know it's on the way. How is your future going to be delivered to you? What are you going to do to deliver the future that you want? And that is this book right here, to me. To me. Everybody has to get their own way, find their own way, because it's so hard. You know, doctors for depression, they could give drugs. If you have anxiety, there's a drug for that. ADHD, oh, there's a drug for that, right? But is it really helping? Is it going to bring you to where you need to go? Is it going to hurt you on the way? Is it something that's going to make you addicted to it? Now, you must have this drug in order to function. These things are a problem. And this book, to me, can be a problem solver. So, one of the things that you can look at your situations with is the notion of a pendulum that possibly has your energy for ransom, right? And you have to figure out how to get out of it. How you get out of it is going to be to absolutely acknowledge that it's there, that it's real, and that's it. If you cry, if you get emotional about it, that is also real. You can't ignore these things. These things are real. But once that emotion wave has gone past you, you must commit to the practice of a way of looking at it in a different light. Because now whatever has happened now is in the past, whatever has happened. It can create possible futures that you may be upset about, okay? But you are in the present. You are in the now. That thing that just happened past has now passed. And now the only thing that's real is how you think about it, how you choose to react to it, emotionally or unemotionally. And usually our emotional responses are the ones that we remember. It's the ones that last forever because it's emotion. It just basically drives the memory of whatever the situation is into your brain with a crowbar. And it's there forever, or can be forever. So that forever, as you can see this thing that you know is in you from the past, this trauma from the past, what are you going to do to revisualize what that notion is so that you can pivot to making a high vibrational, upward directioned future? The book says you gotta rent yourself out. That's what it says. Meaning, knowing that this thing is real, you have to try to, or indeed separate yourself from it and its notion of how it makes you feel, and turn that into a clinical There it is. The bird has died. You love that bird. It's a beautiful bird. Bird is dead. How you feel about the bird being dead? You're sad. Sadness. Yes, bird is dead. But now what are we going to do? Moving on is we have to bury the bird. And then once the bird is gone, you can continue to move on with your life because the bird is no longer in front of you. And all you have to do is deal with the notion of how you felt or how you feel about what you had to do in order to remove the problem from your life. The problem that you remember because it was so emotionally overwhelming. For some people, it can be rape, sexual assault. It can be things that their parents did to them. It could be abandonment from their parents or the notion of abandonment from their parents or the actual abandonment from their parents. And these things can set people up for unsuccess, or it can drive them to be incredibly successful. It's just how you look at it. So continue to look at things in a more wide open way so that you can give yourself a chance to heal from whatever past trauma has happened to you, right? To avoid getting stuck in a suspended state, you have to find your own pendulums. You have to make your own pendulums. And the way that you make your own pendulums is by finding what your definitive purpose is and setting out on a daily basis to make sure that you are heading towards that which you said you want to see. If you want to be a wife, what are the things that you can do for yourself to make you a great wife, a great supporter for a man who chooses you? What are you going to do? What is your additional gift to support a man who is looking to solidify his nuclear family, right? And those things are usually simple. Men are simple. We would like to have conversation, yes. Sex, yes, please. Food, absolutely. But we also, a real man will also understand that an emotional woman just needs comfort, protection. She needs to feel safe within her man's presence. And sometimes we will not have the answers verbally, but we are there for whatever you want to say, however you want to do it, right? And this is a pendulum that you can create for yourself, as in this is how you see your relationship if you're single and you want to be in a relationship. You can create a pendulum in order to make that something that comes to life. This book is like, well, when I was in school, in dental school, this book is, there was chemistry and there was physics, right? So chemistry to me was all these notions of how reactions happen to make one substrate become another substrate or affect another substrate by way of a reaction, chemical reaction. But it seemed like physics was the nuts and bolts of how gravity worked and how it moved and how, in some cases, it was a concentration of high concentration to low concentration, and that's what makes that particular reaction happen. That's physics. I feel like this book is the physics of things. Of late, you'll see the notion of a lot of labeling. So you have people who are woke. You have labels, abused, battered, abandoned, and they'll maybe a doctor will give you these things that are negative things: abused, battered, abandoned, right? And then they'll ask, what do you feel about it? How do you feel to feel abandoned? And now they make you think about how you feel about being abandoned. And it's like, I guess that's the gig. I guess that's the gig, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be that happened. There was a feeling that made me feel abandoned, but do you have to deal with that feeling? No, not necessarily. You can deal with the fact of what was. Mom wasn't there, dad wasn't there, dad wasn't there, right? Making you feel a certain way. You don't have to keep going over and over your feelings because you're just going to spiral yourself down the road. You're going to close yourself up to the future. Another way to do it would just be to recognize that this is a personal pendulum that was created that you now have to deal with. Something that is unavoidable. So you have to run at it, and ignore it. You can't battle it. It's like fighting a mirror, fighting a ghost. You're not going to win battling these things that aren't real anymore. The only thing that's real is the feeling of the memory of what was. That's real. That's true. Yes. But if you keep choosing to battle something that isn't there, you will continue to be in the battle and you will lose. So, this book is a way to consider how one can look at things and can explain how we have been swept up in notions or energy fields that we may not necessarily want to go to, and things that take us off of our journey. Guys, this chapter 2 is basically the beginning of a wave of definitions of ways to see the world, I'd like to say, as it is or as you are, right? And I definitely recommend it. It is not a difficult read, but it definitely is thick. I mean, it's this thick. And I'm actually rereading it to share it with you because I'm actually enjoying it, you know. And the channel is about health and wellness. So I consider that health is only 5 parts that just have to be adhered to. So food, sleep, exercise, detoxification, and mental behavior. How would you know something if you don't know it? Usually, the greatest stuff is hidden in between the pages of a book. And whether it's true or not true, at least it can stimulate a thought process in you that could give you the notion as to where you can go. I mean, we are all quite highly capable. And if you say that to yourself, it just happens to be a true statement. If you say the opposite, unfortunately, that's a true statement as well. Me, myself, I want to see everyone thrive. So I'm offering this quick book review, which is going to take several stages, several videos to do, that you can grab onto something to help you move into the direction that you want to move into. You can do it, you know? And this Reality Transurfing, Chapter 2, Pendulums. We're going to put this book to rest right now, all right? Guys, please like and subscribe, right? Definitely check out the book Reality Transurfing if you feel like you're ready. If you feel like you're ready, okay? It's a thick book. It is going to take you away from those things that you consider to be normal or what you consider to be true. It's definitely going to make you say, as it's made me say, many times. But it's also made me say, like, oh, that's been another thing that has made me say, oh, right? Anyway, thank you for listening. We're going to talk about a couple other little things a little bit later.